Hello,
สวัสดีครับ
good
สวัสดี
evening.
ครับ สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีครับผม Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening,
Uh,
Thailand. Yeah, a
how
while ago,
come I couldn't see my voice on my? Oh well,
yeah,
let's see.
the voice is crystal clear.
It is.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Good.
Yeah, I just introduced about the 4C. 4C in
Yep.
education. Actually, it can be applied in various areas, but now we are focused on the 4C in education, and later on we will share more about the how about its application. Yeah. So this is my first
Okay.
question. Okay, I think better because maybe you are new so for some group because I asked my friends to share it out to the True English Speaking Club and Beautiful Life. So I would like you to introduce yourself in brief, please.
Well, I'm just a guy who almost 60 years old, pretty close, and I've been working in very ve- well various position and in different several industries, mostly in IT and telecom. And a few years back, I feel that I would like to get to be retired earlier. So think I should contribute some of my experience to someone. So I got hooked up with a university, and I I joined them as a consultant and to share my experience, working experience, so that so that it can be blended into the education setting or content, thing like that. Anyway, back to why I'm interested in education, because I feel that um, human resource or human capital needs to be developed, and if being developed very effectively, it's gonna produce a lot of economic return. Let's say in 5 or 10 years after the student graduate. So it means that we're gonna have students that have very high competitive edge, and they're gonna be productive and can generate more GDP or GNP in future later on. So that's why I think human capital is very important. So when we come to that, we have to think of when the student come to study, there are maybe 4 or 5 different domains of learning. One of them very obvious is knowledge, but in current situation like this, okay, economic, political, and social thing like that is so that's a lot of change. You can call the vulgar that call V as a but you might need to help me on that one. V is what, and U C A.
VUCA.
Yeah, volatility. I think it's volatile, and U is what U is uncertainty,
Sorry, I have no
and C
idea.
is well, sorry, and C is complexity, and A is ambiguity. So this thing happened very rapidly, and that's why people cannot expect what can happen in perhaps in 5 or 10 years. For example, you see that Nokia is no longer here, and perhaps in maybe in the next decade we might not see Sony or iPhone. Who knows? Anyway, when it comes to that, we talk about performance. People always think of performance as say KPI, how fast you can go, thing like that. But nobody know that if something happened very in a unexpected way, what are you going to do? You can keep if you say that you have to drive a car from here to perhaps Chiang Mai or maybe KL, Kuala Lumpur, at a 100 kilometer per hour. You just keep going there with that speed. But suddenly there is something disrupt your way. What are you going to do? You're going to hit them and you keep driving on 100 kilometers per hour, That's a KPI. That's a that is technical performance. So it's not going to work because something that happened on that cut on your path, you have to stop and you have to think how to do that, how to navigate around things that obstruct you. That's called adaptive performance. So basically, for the adaptive performance, it's not really have to deal with knowledge. It has to do with those competency. I would say it's generic competency, or some people call it is cross-functional competency. First of all, before we go to that, such competency we can group into about four. One is communication. Second is critical thinking, and third is creative thinking, and fourth is collaborating. That sometimes we call C4 or 4C. 4 competencies.
C4.
Yeah.
Yes.
C4. C4 is explosive substance, right? Anyway, when people always say that, hey, come on, there is more than 4 competencies to work, but I would say that with this minimum set of 4, you can work. You can be very adaptive. Why? Because you know how to communicate very effectively. You know what they think, and they know what you think. Okay, you can get the message across to help them, and you can help them. They can help us, things like that. And for the creative thinking, I would say that most of people with what you call it, like customer service or the designer or the problem shooter, they have to be very creative to find a way or to solve the problem. They have to be very creative to find solution. That's why the creative thinking is key. And for the next one is critical thinking. Critical thinking and creative thinking is sort of different. Okay, for creative thinking, let's go back to creative thinking. It's very divergent. You know, divergent thinking. You can come with a lot of solutions, but you have to select one of them. Okay, either of them, or maybe some of them that work, but you have to think a lot. You have to find a solution. When you say you have to find a solution, sometimes solution might come with only one single solution, or maybe suboptimal solution, or very optimal solution, whatever. You have to find, and then you have to select. But first one, you have to find your choices. When you find your choices, this means you have to decide. You have to think very creatively to think of the solution, what's the possible outcome that you want to have. But for the critical thinking is when you see something happen, you have to think why the thing happened. That's critical thinking. Sometimes you might have a lot of you see scenario like this, and you think why this thing happened. You try to convert whatever you think until you reach the final solution that thing happened because of this. That's why I say this is. Yeah, that's a picture. That's a picture. People, you might want to expand that further on the picture. Just maybe just repeat me or make a reflection on what you just draw.
Yeah, actually, we talked about this before, and then your explanation connected to the two big words of the convergence and divergence. Yeah, I think your explanation was clear because you mentioned creative thinking, something like how to solve the problem, because as problem shooter require someone who have their creative thinking because they can create there are many possible solutions. Yeah, and then this you said that the creative thinking is the process like divergence. Yeah, and that is what people got involved in their life. But now we are talking technically. But if you can connect to what you experience yourself, they can get the clear pictures about what is the creative thinking in the process of the divergence. And the critical thinking is a word that widely used in Thailand society. It is when you think something in a critical state, and you like to think about what is let's say this a problem. It is so many possible. It is the problem, and how to get the solution.
How to get to the core.
To the core. Yeah, to the core. By
the core.
Convergence process. That is what I understand, and I think maybe if there's someone would like to share more about their own experience, they are more than welcome this at the end of our conversation. Yeah, that is what I would like to share, and what I learned from your sharing earlier. Yeah, that is about the creative thinking. And I would like to ask you about how about the creative thinking and adaptive thinking? It is similar or is different?
Creative thinking or adapt. Well, what I say is adaptive performance. That's two kinds of performance. Okay, one is a tactical performance. The second one is adaptive performance.